Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to today's show. Today we've got a really fascinating, interesting guest, Joanne Divine Life Yogini. She specializes in yoga. She's an author, a speaker, a presenter. She's an ambassador for UK Health Radio, and she also does interviews for Watkins Bookshop. It's a pretty awesome guest, really fascinating interview we've got lined up today. Joanne, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
No, it's great to have you on board. And Joanne, let's sort of start from the beginning. What got you into yoga? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What gets you into yoga?
When I was younger, I was always felt a spiritual calling in my life. And, you know, when I traveled many places around the world, and I remember when I was in New Zealand, I was dancing and doing modeling back then when I was young. I remember finding these bookshops, always in spiritual bookshops. And I remember, you know, these books, yoga books coming out saying, read me, read me. And I started practicing them in my hotel rooms and stuff like that, practicing all the postures. And then after my travels, I came back and I used to attend all the yoga. And I used to do my sort of Wiccan rituals and everything. But yoga really, when I became pregnant, I actually studied to be a yoga teacher for 3 years in London. And I was going with this big belly, you know, to do my yoga teacher training course. And I was still, you know, standing on my head when I was 8 months pregnant. It was just wonderful. And yeah, from there, I did classes. I remember my first class was in Soho in London. And I just love yoga. And then I went to live in Italy about 12 years ago with my 3 children then to open a yoga retreat in Italy.
Wow.
And we lived there for 8 years. And that's what my book is about. My book, Dreaming of a Divine Life, is about us going there to Italy and all the crazy things that happened, all the juicy bits that happened, because there's really, really crazy, juicy stories there, and all the failed attempts, but then my spiritual journey, of course, because it was like being on an ashram in the middle of nowhere in this beautiful 16th century medieval castle town. And but really, I up until then, I was calling myself a yoga teacher, but I really didn't feel like a yoga teacher. You know, only from years of teaching, only now do I really feel that I can make a contribution, and I am a yoga teacher. That's
really interesting stuff, really interesting. It must have been a really interesting experience too. And it's really fascinating, your journey as well. I think that, as well as the yoga, I think your journey into different countries and experience in Italy, no doubt would have been an interesting experience. I work also in Italy, running courses, and my background is Italian, so it is an interesting place.
Where are you from? You're Italian. Are you like?
Yeah. I'm a man of the world, Joanne.
I'm a citizen of the world as well.
A child of the universe, really, in that respect. But I've sort of my background is from southern Italy, and I sort of travel all over. But that's all good, and I think it's fascinating stuff. I think, you know, like you mentioned there, I think that part of the journey is our evolution. Our personal evolution that comes from experiences, and certainly I can see you had experiences for sure.
I mean, when I was younger, I traveled. I lived in Australia for many years, and America, and all different. And I had crazy experiences. But being on that ashram, I called it my ashram because it was just in the middle of nowhere, in this beautiful countryside, with next to a 16th century medieval castle town, with no people around us. Beautiful, you know, was picking out olive trees, and it was really a time when I split up with my partner and he went back, and it was just, we had no money. It was with my parents, and it was really the toughest, most challenging experience of my life, having 4 children and trying to, you know, look after them and have food in the fridge. But it was the most enlightening. It was the most enlightening because you know, I reread all of the Yoga Sutras, all of the Buddhist texts, all of the Vedas and the Upanishads, which I learned when I did my course years ago. And it was just like I got this new feeling of this, this education. And I read so many spiritual books. And I started writing my book. My book took 9 years to write because I started writing it while I was going through all my challenges, And I had one friend in the town, Ripper-Tranzoni, where we lived. And she was an English teacher, and she was the only person that could speak English there that I knew. And I used to bring her my texts, of like these headings, of the beginning of the book. And she used to read it and she'd say, this is terrible, but she became sort of my creative English teacher really, and helped me. And then towards the end, after 8 years, I'd bring her it, and it was, it was readable. So I was writing it as I was going through the challenges. And I think the most important things that I learned from the whole of that, number one, to make peace, make peace with who you are. The things that we go through, especially when we're young, they make us who we are. And, all those challenging and negative things that happen to us, they are blessings in disguise, because they were the times when we grew and we spiritually evolved the most. They were the times, when we're in it, we can't see that. Everything is just hopeless and we can't see it. But then as we come out of it, you understand the reason for why all them things happen to us. And we shouldn't regret anything. We have to make peace with it, because it's all self-created for our growth and for to raise our consciousness, And I think I made peace at long last. I learned to bless it all, to bless them, all the challenges, and to make peace with my past, so that I could be peace with who I am and bring peace into the world. That's what my mission is in life.
That's really interesting stuff. And obviously use yoga as a vehicle to,
I tell you, yoga is my salvation. I write that in the book. If I didn't have my yoga and my meditation, I don't think I'd be here now, because it really is. I mean, one of the chapters of my book is at the end, salvation. And yoga is my salvation, it really is.
And what was your motivation for going into yoga?
Because I just think it was driven. I think it was a past life thing, because I do lots of meditation. I teach dynamic hatha yoga, which is quite fast and flowing. I do that on my TV shows. I've got my Divine Life in Yoga and Wellness TV shows, but I've got a guru, and I teach Kundalini Kriya Yoga, which is my guru. He's in India, Yogi Raj Siddhanath. He is in India, in Pune. He's got an ashram, but he is a master, Kundalini Kriya Yoga master. So it's all about the energy. It's bringing the energy from the Kundalini up the spine through the chakras. And it's amazing. It's so good.
No, that's really interesting stuff. And you know what? For me, Joanne, I sort of first came across yoga many, many years ago. And originally I was doing it for myself to increase my range of movement, my suppleness, because I used to play sport at a reasonably high level. And I found it really effective for my mind as well. It gave me like a really clear mind too. So I thought at that point, well, I'm onto something here. And I started working as a conditioning coach, as well as doing some performance coaching work with different athletes at the highest level. And I started suggesting to them to do yoga. I suggested it to like football players. This is like over 20 years ago now, probably even more. The way I would do yoga, Joanne, is like cherry pick what was right for me.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to sort of point I want to make is in my journey, I would come across, and this was like a long time ago now, and I've seen big changes. It's become more mainstream, and I think it's great that it has done so, but equally I can see an issue too. Yeah. And the issue for me is that it can be intrusive. It's like I've gone to classes, Joanne, where it's like all or nothing. I'm there to cherry pick. Yeah.
My guru, you know, we practice yoga. He calls it yoga, right? Yoga.
Yeah.
And yoga is the postures, the breathing, the pranayama, the meditation, and the relaxation. But many yoga centers around the world are only focusing on the postures. So that's not yoga, that's just pure exercise. Yoga is, you know, thousands and thousands of years old. Every single exercise discipline in the world comes and originates from yoga. You know, it all originates, all exercise originates from yoga. But what they're teaching, I mean, when I came back to Italy after being out of the country for 10 years, I didn't have any following. I didn't even know where I was going to live, let alone how I was going to make, you know, any money being a yoga teacher. And I went to this yoga center down the road from me, and they had me in this hot room, 100 degrees. And I was trying to teach this class, and it was just ridiculous. And I'm like, if anyone's got a dodgy heart, you know, or they've got like high blood pressure, this is not the one. There was no breathing. There was no meditation. It was so fast, just pure for sweat, you know. So I think, but it's really troubling as well, Jimmy, because these days it takes three weeks and you can get a stamp to say that you are a yoga teacher in England. Yes. I've just said to you before, it's taken me 20 years to be
exactly. And I think that's equally in many different areas.
And also, when you start learning to become a yoga teacher, remember yoga, it brings up, it helps all the postures and the breathing and the weird and bendy things that we get ourselves into. They release the repressed memories and negative thoughts and feelings that are in our pain body, okay, that have been stored there for past lives and through this life. It's called the pain body. So in this pain, it really helps release them. So when you start studying and you learn the ancient scriptures and you read them, that's information that helps release it, as well as doing all the meditation and the preparing and all of the yoga. You're studying all the philosophy. You're studying all the psychotherapy of yoga. It's just such a vast subject. But once you start doing that over a period of time, it changes you. You know, I became a vegetarian when I was doing that because it changed you. Because it was making me lighter, my food needs then became more lighter. You know, when I was reading all my books again in Italy, and I just could not eat animals anymore. I'm almost a vegan now. But it changes you on a subtle level. So in 3 weeks, you can't change, you know. You need to do a long...
I think so.
And also, I think it's a rite of passage, because in Italy, what I went through was my initiation to be a yoga teacher. It was my rite of passage to embrace and realize that I am worthy, you know, because I did many things in my past when I was younger that made me feel unworthy, you know. I write about it, it's all in the book. But I really had to take that on board, and I had to learn to bless that and be empowered with it and own it, you know, and not be scared of my past, because that's who I am. And now I speak it and I say it truthfully, because this is the truth. People, they live in delusion. They think that, you know, they worry about what other people think of them. When it's not about them, it's all about us leading by example.
No, definitely. I think that, you know, there's some powerful sentiments there. And certainly there's a lot to be learned in yoga. And in my own journey, I have a science background. I have sort of 1 foot in the spiritual camp, 1 foot in the science camp, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I've read research from the University of Washington that suggests that yoga can help with mindful eating, being more self-aware, with sugar cravings as well. I've read some research, I think that came from Oxford University in the UK, about blood pressure and sleeping.
The meditation, yeah, it's wonderful.
And certainly there are correlations there. What I would say, in my opinion, some of these scientific studies, because I sort of try and balance things out, the statistical power, they examine a group that's not a big group, you know, the only way we're going to know for sure is, I think a lot of things are multifactorial. It's not one thing. One thing, A doesn't always cause B. There's many factors that are all meshed in. But there's no doubt that I think that it certainly helps people, yoga, meditation, in many ways. But the thing I was going to say to you as well, Joanne, I think about it this way. This is my opinion. I think that it can be intimidating to go to a yoga class for some people. You know, certainly, I mean, I've got experience. I've done yoga for a while. I don't have the range of movement that the instructors have, but I do it for me.
Exactly.
But you go into a class, Joanne, and you see people who've got, and I think that it can be
it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But what do you say to people who get fully intimidated? I mean, if you've never done yoga before and you can't put your foot, and I think, in my opinion, sometimes there are certain people in the yoga environment that almost want to show off what they can do rather than. Is that my? Is it just?
Yeah, you're right. You are so right, Jimmy. You really, really are right. You look at Instagram, okay? You're talking about they're not yoga teachers, they're contortionists, okay? Yoga is not about getting into putting your foot behind your head and anything. I can't do that. I can't do that. Yoga is a personal experience. It's a harmonious, personal inner journey to find who you are. It's got nothing to do with how bendy or how supple or how far you can stretch. It's a personal experience for you. When you're in that posture, that is a mini meditation. You're stopping what you're thinking of. You're letting go of all your thoughts. You're letting go of your negativity, all your stresses and all your problems. And for that hour, when you're doing that class, that session, you are being in the moment with your divine self. Yeah.
But I mean, and the thing is, I mean, the thing is, Joanne, the other thing I was going to say is that it's sort of adapting it. And for me, I have a routine I'll do in the morning. There is in the morning that goes by that I won't do, for example, the recline twist, because it helps with my back and sporting injuries and the breathing. But I adapt it, and I think that there are certain people that would struggle to hold their breath or breathe. And I think the thing is I don't think in my experience in certain environments that the people are told that you can adapt your breathing. You don't have to adapt, hold your breath. I mean, I would personally struggle to hold my breath for 16 seconds, but I would probably collapse. So the point being is that I think sometimes it's a shame because certain classes can be pretty intrusive.
Yes.
And people leave and they never come back again.
And then they get the wrong idea of what yoga is. And that's really
I think so.
That's a shame. I mean, I went to one Iyengar class years ago in one of these clubs in London, and this woman had a stick. She was walking around hitting people's legs and arms to get them into this perfect position. And I'm like,
sentiments,
that's ridiculous. Yoga is free. Yoga is, my guru will say this, yoga is the union. Yoga means union in Sanskrit. That's what yoga means, union. It's the union of mind, body, and soul. It's the union of all religions, of all faiths, of all creeds, of all people, of all spiritual disciplines. It doesn't matter what discipline, or whether you're a Sikh, a Hindu, a Christian, or an atheist. Yoga is for all people, for everyone. And it's a spiritual discipline which, doesn't matter where you are. I've taught old ladies of 80 years old who can't even move one leg yoga, And I always tell everyone, this is your time for you, but you just work to where your body will allow you to.
I think that's an important point.
Slowly, with regular weekly practice. See, you can't just do it once a week. You're not going to get anywhere. 3 times a week is good, even twice if you've got a busy life. A little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening. But slowly, the body will, release all of the toxins and all of and become supple. Slowly. I've seen it happen. I've seen people, they couldn't even get into postures. And then after, say, 3 months, I'm like, yay! They got into that posture. They could touch their feet and plow onto the floor. But, it's a slow process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow process,
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point. I think that, certainly for people who are intimidated to go into a classroom, certainly I think that it's a bit like the gym environment. Certain gyms you go to, there are people swanning around, lifting big weights, throwing weights onto the floor. And I think that, if you look at, say, like you mentioned, the Instagrams, social medias, and you're seeing people who have got who are doing handstands and standing on one hand and that sort of stuff. For me, they're kind of great. You can do that, fantastic. I admire they can do that.
That's what it's about. Yeah.
And I think sometimes it can, if I didn't know anything about yoga, and I'm not professed to be an expert, but if I didn't know anything about yoga and start now, I would probably be cautiously optimistic about going to a class, because a lot of the stuff I see when I started doing yoga maybe 20 or so years ago to help my own supplements, because I had some lower back problems, it was a different world. These days, if I was going to go into it now, it would be like, you've
got to be careful. You've got to be careful, because as I say, these people can 3 weeks and they can get stamped to be a yoga teacher, which is just so wrong. And I think that it's a responsibility to be a yoga teacher, because you're playing with people's minds when you do the meditation, and you're helping people, but you've got to have a responsibility to do it from your heart and not from the ego. Lots of yoga teachers are doing it from an ego thing. You can see it all over social media. Look at me, I can get here. Don't I look wonderful? But it's just to get more followers. It's all a lot of rubbish. It's not. It's we are here. A true yoga person is here, number one, to bring peace to people. It's all. I just want people to bring a positive mind, a healthy body, a peaceful spirit, and an abundant life. That's what I'm here to help people with. Yeah. Because
that's a good job. Yeah. And I think it's good that you say that. I think it can put people at ease, People who are a bit concerned, and because that has its place. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, when they're in postures, to give them alternatives. There's always an easier alternative. You've got the full posture, but then I always give them an easier alternative if they can't get into it. I mean, I don't really teach beginners, because I've got some private classes, but most of my yoga is on video courses now that I do. I've got my Divine Life Yoga and Wellness video course on my website, which we'll put this up.
Yeah, for sure.
And I teach on my Divine Life Yoga and Wellness TV shows. So on my video course, I've got 5 videos, 2 yoga videos, and then 1 for the anti-aging yoga videos, because I'm 50, so I want people to be, healthy and youthful, and see what yoga's done for me, and also diet is very important, yogic diet, and I think yoga, you've got to follow the spiritual principles, the niyamas and the yamas of yoga, which means, kindness to all people and all beings and all animals. That's why yogis should really be vegetarians, number one, because otherwise you're going against what yoga is. Yoga,
yes.
All yogis should be vegetarians, vegan. So, and then, helping others, and then, doing the work on yourself. It's all about, we're here to help and enlighten ourselves and feel that self-love so that we can give it out to others.
No, it's really interesting you say, and the vegetarian. I mean, I cut out meat many years ago, and feel better for it. I mean, people eat it; it's up to them. I don't judge people what they do what's right for them. But I speak from personal experience. And some people say that they eat it, they feel better for it. But for me personally, I suppose everyone's got their own constitution, their own body type. For me personally, I know how I feel, and personally, I can think nothing worse than having rotten flesh in my.
I'm with you, brother. I'm so. It's like for me, it's like cannabis. It's a form of cannibalism.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I share that sentiment to a point. But if you want to eat it, it's great. I don't sort of whole burning.
I think that we are evolving species, humanity, and we've gone past that caveman era of. I mean, I've got a whole chapter, yogic diet, in my book. And it just explains about what's happening to the world. If we keep eating so much meat, it's like the UN has put out, please have 2 you know, vegetarian meals a week because we can't sustain this meat eating in our society. Cutting down the rainforests, all the water, 50%, you know, the transport, it's the emissions, it's not viable. But as people, we are a spiritually awakening time. It's the best time to be alive because, you know, it really is the most awakening time that the planet has ever had, because it had many times before, but this time we're going to do it. We're going to get through it. We're going to actually succeed.
Well, I mean, I hope so, and I think that's a good sentiment to have. I mean, I'm a bit more cautiously optimistic, you know, and I'm generally, people call me a positive person. I don't even know what that means, but my fear is that as much as we've evolved as human beings, I still think we've got a long way to go. And I think that
I'm talking thousands of years here. Thousands.
Exactly. And I think one of my concerns is that we don't evolve quickly or quicker. We're going to get caught out because we've got this technology now, which is useful to a point, but the worry is that, I mean, the theory is, from a scientific point of view, we share 98% DNA with a chimpanzee. From a scientific point of view, that's sort of cutting a long story short, you know. But if you think about it, we can speak 10,000 words. Chimpanzee can only speak a few hundred words. We can make tools. We can make houses. We can do all this technology, which is fantastic. So you can see just, you know, 2% difference in DNA, what we can do compared to the chimpanzee. But the worrying thing is that sort of part of the brain, that limited part of the brain, that probably hasn't evolved a great deal. We've got nuclear warfare, we've got nuclear technology, and that is frightening. And I think people don't realise that, you know, the world has nearly erupted in nuclear war a couple of times, and I think we don't evolve a bit quicker. You know, I'm positive that I think we'll be okay, but I'm also sort of like, you know, thinking, okay. We've got a long way to go. There's still wars. There's still fighting.
It's like the Atlanteans and the Lemurians. You know, they had so much technology, but they did their spirituality. They wiped themselves out with that. But humanity, the Earth, you know, is being looked after by highly evolved beings, and it's not gonna, you know, we are really an evolving race, and the awakening. The most important thing, you know, my guru. His slogan, when I saw him, when I was going through all my really bad time in Italy and I needed spiritual guidance so much, I turned the internet on and I was searching for this spiritual guidance. And there he came to me with his slogan, Earth Peace through Self-Peace. This is the way that it's all about the individual. I am an example. I can't change anyone. The only person I can change is me, and lead by example, the way that I live my life, you know, and the way that I give, and the way that I want to help others. That's what you become. So, you know, that's what we're all here for. But we're living, and I mean, at this time, we've got so much light and love, energy. I call it the love, light, energy, prana, whatever you want to call it, the energy of God, source. It's love, isn't it? Coming in. And it's really coming in, and it's purging our negativity up to the surface. It's purging the fear. It's purging everything. That's why the world is in chaos, and we're walking around going, God, there's so much negativity. There's so much chaos. There's so much fear. Yeah, because it's coming to a point. We have to. It's coming to the point where it's like breaking point. You know, where we come to a point where we have to awaken, you know, we have to individually, each individual comes to a point where they either go through the dark night of the soul, which is wonderful, you know, having that depression, having that breakdown, having all of that is wonderful, because you're breaking down them old forms and you're releasing that old ego, letting go of that, the death of the ego. This is the time we're living in, to be reborn into this new person, you know, the awakening of the soul.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective, and you know, I mean, one thing's for sure is last century was quite a brutal century, because you had you know, major wars, you had genocide, you had Yeah, and that's sort of, you know, and it shows there shows that there is evil even in the best of human beings, because in the day,
got the choice. That's what God love has given us, the free will. Free will.
I mean, I'm more of an existentialist. I sort of think that we are putting this stuff, we create a meaning, but I don't dismiss the possibility that there is, you know, the divine, the universe. You know, I don't know.
It's not a man with a white beard.
No. I understand that. I understand that.
It's a source. It's a force of positive energy.
And for sure, I mean, you know, I'm certainly sure that on the flip side, you know, there is that sort of 2% difference between us and DNA genetically with chimpanzees. But if you put 2% beyond us, imagine what we could do. So there is hope in that respect. Going back to yoga, I want to say a really interesting book I read one time, Joanne, was what's the name of the book now? It was Overcoming Trauma, I think, by David Emerson and Elizabeth Hopper, and it talks about they use yoga for treatment of post-traumatic stress. It's a really fascinating read, and I believe they got a centre somewhere in the USA that they use yoga adjacent to other therapies too. And also some of the work I've read by Dr. Vessel van der Kolk, he's really experiential in terms of at least my interpretation from using interventions for trauma. He talks a lot about yoga for trauma, and I've seen some research how it can be useful for that. Obviously, I'm not sort of making recommendations for people who are what they've got to follow their own treatment plan, done the clinical care, or if they are suffering, go through the proper channels. But with interest, really, what sort of people come to you to do yoga? I mean, what are they looking to benefit from?
I think people that come are not so much people that have, you know, problems, or, I mean, I've had cancer, people with cancer. I've had people, you know, with bad backs and, you know, people, but mostly it's searchers, seekers.
Wow, yeah.
Because it's not just about, because yoga is wonderful because it is the union of mind, body, and soul. So you're getting everything. It's holistic. Yeah, it's holistic. You know, you're getting your body. In Hatha yoga, we get our body in a perfect place, and then we carry on with the yoga, and then you can go into the Kundalini, which is the meditations. So, you know, if your body is full of toxins, and you know you're really, it's really in a horrible state, your body, then you know you're not going to be sitting in meditation in a really wonderful, having a wonderful experience.
Of course, yes.
But, you know, so you're getting your body into that lovely place, first of all, healing that and releasing all of the thoughts and the negativity from the pain body as well helps, you know. So when you first start doing yoga, all these really things come up because you're releasing it, you know, you're releasing all the negativities. And then, of course, as you go on, slowly, you start changing. It starts changing you on all levels. You know, yoga, not only does it helps the endocrine system, the hormones, especially with the Kundalini, because the Kundalini comes up, free flow of energy in the subtle energy system. So, which is in control of releasing your hormones and in control of all of your bodily functions. So, you know, free flow of energy. That's why bending and stretching and doing all these wonderful things helps with the free flow of energy, you know, and raising the energy from different levels through the chakras to experience what they mean. Like the throat chakra, you know, is all about speaking your truth, communication, you know, and you know, all these different things. So it's all emotional, physical, spiritual, you know, works on all ways.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting stuff. And in my experience, I've certainly recommended yoga to people in sport. Football, I do a lot of work in football. I work at the highest level. And I had a conversation one time with a sports scientist from one of the biggest football clubs in the world, and they talked about issues around cortisol, players at high cortisol levels after Champions League games because they had played a game late in the evening and they weren't getting to bed early on that weekend. It would carry on to the weekend. So I suggested yoga. Obviously, the point being that they take on board their range of movement. but I'd seen a lot of research, Joanne, around yoga and cortisol reduction. So I thought, I put two and two and thought, okay, it can help with cortisol reduction, but it can also help with range of movement. So I would suggest that the yoga they did, they worked within their range of movement.
Yeah,
they went as far as they can tolerate.
Definitely.
But equally, it wasn't the only answer. Precisely.
Sure.
Yeah, and the other point being too, when I mentioned sort of cortisol reduction, there is scientific evidence to suggest that it can do that. So, but equally saying that if you're having, say, 20 cups of coffee a day, you're not giving yourself that chance. So I think the thing is, having a holistic approach is important too.
Jimmy, it's all about the middle path. Yoga means living the middle path.
Yes.
Moderation between everything. You know, we are spiritual beings having a flesh body experience, you know, having a human experience. You know, these are just, this is not who we are, this flesh body. We are
stardust, isn't it? Yeah, we're all made of stardust, really. So.
Yeah, exactly, you know. But it's about, you know, using yoga to, you know, because it works on all different levels. That's
for sure. No, definitely. Yeah. No, that's really good, and it's really fascinating stuff. And you know, our conversation's gone really, really quick. It's been really interesting. I was going to say, so you do have videos, and you've got your TV, Joanne, as well. So I think we might have lost you there. Sorry, Joanne. I think I might have. Okay. So I think we might have lost Joanne there. But Joanne does have. We're sort of coming towards the end of the show anyway. At the end of the show, I was going to give Joanne the opportunity to give her contact details. She has got a YouTube channel, Joanne, which is really, really good. And her TV show that she does, and I think it's quite useful to have a look and cherry pick what's right for you. So Joanne, it's Joanne Divine Life Yogini. If you want to get in touch with her, you know, Google her or go on LinkedIn. And she does a lot of work in yoga, and like I mentioned earlier, she's the ambassador for UK Health Radio and does a lot of interviews and has her own channel. So certainly if you're interested in yoga, it's definitely worth having a look to see the work that she does. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, before you do any yoga, always check with the physician first if you've got any range of movement problems, or if there's any reason, or if you're under any sort of clinical care, or you've got any injuries. Always check first with the physician before you sort of go ahead, because you know, certain elements of yoga, or anything for that matter, can be very intrusive, obviously. So you want to, you know, build up towards that. I think where class is concerned, in my experience, it's about going to somewhere where you feel comfortable to the point. Sorry, we lost you there. I was just sort of just to sort of copy in. I was just giving
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That happens.
Technology.
Yeah. No, I was just giving people some details. So I was talking about how they can get in touch with you, and I was also mentioning to people that obviously, you know, to check with their physician first if they've got any injuries, illnesses, ailments before they sort of go on and do. And I was talking about how people could have a look at your video. So. So I mean, who better than you to share your details? Joanne, are you okay to share some details where I can get in touch with you?
I mean, this is my book. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Dreaming of a Divine Life.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
So this is my book. That's all about when I went to Italy, but it's beautiful because it's about my spiritual journey and all the crazy things. So that's, and I've got my video course as well on my website, which is www.divinelifeyoga.co.uk. And also you can go on my YouTube channel, Joanne Divine Life Yogini, because I've just started. We've only been on air for, well, we've had 5 shows. We do a weekly show each week called Divine Life Yoga and Wellness TV show. And this is a 30-minute show. It consists of 12 minutes of yoga with the meditation and relaxation, just a little yoga. Then I give my Yogini secrets, which Yogini secrets to being in the moment, to self-love, everything, you know, little couple of minutes about the what you do with your moments. Yeah, I like that. And, and then I also do really fascinating, really great interviews, but they're only about 10 minutes long, with practitioners, authors, mind, body, and spirit, influencers, you know, the best-selling authors, and you know, people who have the same feelings as me of bringing peace and love to the world. So yeah, you should. They're really good. So
yeah, you know, I love it for that, for sure. But I want to thank you very much for coming on board the show. It's really interesting insight into yoga and yourself as well. So thank you very much, and you know, we'll certainly you know, keep an eye out for how you do, and best wishes for the channel. I think it's going to be you know, really great opportunity for people to, you know, get to watch.
Yeah, yoga and wellness hand in hand. It's all holistic. You know, you can't practice yoga if you don't have, you know, the diet and the meditation and the whole thing, the lifestyle, the yogic lifestyle, you know, as well, which comes with it anyway.
Wonderful,
so it's a lifelong journey.
It is indeed, definitely. Thanks very much, Joanne. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jimmy. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste. Yeah, thank you. Definitely.
Bye.